Okay, welcome back to another edition of Real BatDude Reacts. We are continuing with our reaction to Amber Heard's testimony. This is the afternoon testimony on May 5th, Thursday. And they came back from lunch. She's in about an hour and a half of testimony. Her attorney has just introduced about 30 photos into evidence, asking her if she recognizes certain photos as the house that Johnny was renting while he was filming Pirates 5. Okay, Amber was away and finishing up a movie, and she came back to meet him in Australia, where he had just started filming. And they've been married only for about a month, maybe 2 months tops. So we're going on with the testimony regarding photos and everything else that's happening from her time in Australia. So let's get on with it.
Thank you. Now I'm going to ask you to take this jury through your experience, what happened in Australia once you arrived there.
Where she cut Johnny's finger off because she threw 2 vodka bottles at him. But she won't testify to that.
Well, I
bet his attorney's leading.
Nervous because of the conversations that I had with him before I left. And then in transit, I stopped in Dubai and spoke to him too. So I was a little nervous, but he indicated me that he wanted me to come. He said, I miss my wife at the end of the phone call that we had in the airport. I called him from Dubai. And he said, I miss my wife. I felt okay. Safe to, it's good. And I missed him so much, that's all I wanted to do is see my new husband. I flew in, I arrived early. I walked into the bedroom. I was so excited to see him. And he was so, like, he'd lost a ton of weight. So I just knew something was up.
It's Australia. It's hot.
He kind of
He's filming.
Kissed me and kind of, we had some interaction. It was brief. He was leaving to go work. He had to work that day. But then after the plan was he would come back, which he did in the evening, and then he was supposed to have a 3-day weekend, a long weekend. So he comes back that evening, and the chef had kind of prepared some things for the fridge, mashed potatoes, I think spinach as well. There's some steaks in the fridge.
So this is March-ish?
Prepped some of the
late February, March.
And I was looking forward to having this kind of,
of
our
2015
at-home date. We'd just been, we're a new married couple. We hadn't seen each other for basically a month after getting married. And I start dinner and am happy to see him. And at some point early in that evening, he pulls out a bag of MDMA. I asked him what it was, and he told me it was MDMA. And I was surprised because at the time, that was, there was no question mark as to how I would respond to that, or so I thought. It's like, why would you even think that that's okay? He'd already gotten clean and sober. I was, touch and go, but for the wedding, he was drinking Beck's. I think at some point he did have wine on the island, but it wasn't an issue, right? Just moved ahead. So I was surprised that he would even pull out this bag and, well, frankly, not hide it from me. And he kind of seemed to suggest that we should do it together. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I just got here. I just got here. I want to see you. I want to spend time with you. It was the exact opposite of what I expected, what I wanted. And it just seemed delusional at the time to me that he would even suggest this to be something that I could participate in with him. If you had been through what I had been through at that point, it's crazy. And at some point...
It was crazy. You got married.
He drinks in front of me. At first, I think it was like a Malbec or a wine or something. And I remember we hadn't...
Probably wasn't Malbec.
It kind of started an argument.
He's shaking his head, not
and
Malbec. Not
that
Malbec.
was upstairs in that room that we just looked at a picture of, you know, by the sunflowers. That's more or less where we were standing.
Malbec is a red wine, by the way.
And we get in an argument, and I shove past him, just stomp off.
No.
And he grabs me. We have an argument about me walking away, and am I walking out of this? And in my head, I was like, I actually wasn't thinking of leaving yet, but that would later be going through my mind.
Yes, you were. Because before you got married, and it was even just a couple of months before you got married, you had wanted to call it quits. You went away, sought counsel, comfort with your friends. You were done before you even got married.
We had a brief interaction, and I don't remember the exact sequence of things. I wish I did. I have a lot of flashes. It gets a little bit more confusing from my ability to recall
bipolar flashes.
Everything in a linear way a little later on as things got crazier. But for this part, the first night, what I distinctly remember is at one point, I don't think I had gotten very far, or maybe I came back into the room, but when he shoved me, I went flying across these parakeet floors. I mean, just skidding across these floors. And I remember thinking it just looked so easy for him to throw me around like that, you know?
Yeah. But you're a tough girl from Texas, right? You're a tomboy.
My skin against this, like, beautiful wooden floor.
Right in your journal, Johnny.
And we had another argument.
Help your attorneys out.
Was a spin-off from that. It was just kind of this on-off sort of thing that I remember eventually in this interaction. You
just got there and you're in an argument already? I mean, really?
Shoves me up against the fridge. He has me by the throat. And he just was holding me there by my throat. And I wondered if it was the drugs. I wondered if it was him. It hadn't, in my recollection, hadn't been that long. He has me up against the throat.
Actor.
He's kind of bashing me against the wall next to the fridge. We're kind of moving in that area. And at some point, I'm in his face. And I don't know if he had let go of my neck or loosened my grip, but I remember slapping him across the face.
Sure.
Screaming at him.
Sure.
Screaming at me. I got my hand free when he tried to grab me when I walked off. I stormed off. I slammed the door upstairs. I don't know if it was in that instance or if it was in...
You mean the door you pushed in with your foot and punched him in the other room?
The later one that I eventually barricaded the door. You know, it wouldn't stop him from coming in. He could come in the other doors. You know, there's a back door, there's patio, but at least I'd hear it. And this is March 2015 by this time.
March.
I'm being medicated by his doctor. He's giving me anti-anxiety meds.
No.
Giving me...
Why?
You know, had already tried to give me antidepressants. They didn't work for obvious reasons, I hope.
Obvious reasons?
I wasn't sleeping. I had insomnia. I'd wake up with panic attacks. You know, I needed to sleep, but my ability to do so was really, really compromised at this point. And I kept thinking that I just wanted to hear him or know if he came in so I could be aware, so I could be ready for what was going to come in with him. And at some point I go back downstairs. I don't really know at what point I gave up and stayed behind my barricaded door, but I managed to go to sleep. I took some sleeping pills. I woke up, and when I came downstairs, he was still up. He confirmed when I asked him that he had not slept. He had not eaten, so I tried to get him to eat. We get in an argument. He was accusing me of Eddie Redmayne, and by this point, he thought I was working with Billy Bob Thornton on the movie I just shot, but I had already worked with him a year earlier. But he was very upset about him and the gentleman that invited me to a concert in London. You know, my co-star, he was upset about these people, even though I had done that movie a year prior.
Who was that?
It was Billy Bob Thornton, Jim Sturgis, and Eddie Redmayne that he was upset about.
And let me just stop you for a moment. Have you seen Mr. Depp take any drugs by this point?
Hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Eddie Redmayne? I'm sorry, I'm just not familiar with all these actors. Eddie, yeah, there we go. Wow. Oh, he's the, okay. I don't know if that's his wife or what. Family member? The Theory of Everything. Fantastic Beasts, yeah. I think he's probably more notable than anything else as Fantastic Beasts. What a great role for him. So, is Eddie Redmayne married? Hannah whatever. Eddie Redmayne married Hannah Bagshwi on 15 December 2014. They have a daughter. So, that part of the testimony, probably truthful. He's married, just newly married himself, a year before she came to the island with Johnny. They have a kid. So, he was probably just being kind. So, okay.
I'm sorry if I left that out. That when we had the argument about the MDMA, he suggested to me that it wasn't on the no-fly list, like it wasn't on the no list. That was his that was his defense. Like, this isn't the. You didn't say I couldn't have this, and you know, over and over again, Johnny told me I wasn't the reason he was getting sober, but I was the reason he was staying sober. I had saved his life and all this stuff. It wasn't like it wasn't my job to police him, but I kind of ended up being in that situation, it seemed like, in his mind, you know, when he would express that to me. So he took a handful of pills, and I didn't count how many, but when I came back downstairs, I did the math on the amount that was left, and I think it was either 8 or 10, I can't recall as I sit here now, either 8 or 10 pills of MDMA.
That he had taken or that were left?
I remember we had a conversation about the amount that he took.
Uh-huh.
So I remember saying, you
Objection,
took all.
hearsay.
Okay, I'll sustain the objection. Okay.
There were only a few left in the bag, so I think it was what he took. And I said, Johnny,
Objection, hearsay.
Okay. I don't know what this drug is. Sorry, everyone. MDMA. M M MD MDNA machinery dealers MDNA drug MDMA drug facts. Okay, what are the effects of MDMA? A person may experience intoxication within 45 minutes after taking the effects enhance of sense of well-being, increased extroversion, emotional warmth, empathy towards others, and a willingness to discuss emotionally charged memories. How many MDMA? How many MDMA pills would it take to kill you? The fatal case of ecstasy poisoning. How does MDMA kill? MDMA is commonly referred to as the ecstasy. Oh, it's ecstasy. Okay. Stimulant, dependence, combination of factors, contaminants. There's no way to tell how potent illicit drugs are. In Australia, what is sold as ecstasy may contain a lot of MDMA or very little. Pills contain recent report finding the official pill does half the pills tested were of low purity. Okay, some more dangerous pills. Okay, 3 doses of MDMA. Wait, pills have also been detected with up to 3 doses of MDMA in a single pill. Okay, sometimes drug mixes. Okay, well, it doesn't say here what would kill you, but it looks like it depends on the strength of...
He confirmed that he took that amount and that he could take that amount.
And what amount?
At this point, there were 10. He had taken 10. 8 or 10, I can't recall.
And when you say
overnight?
At this point, is that the first night? Is that the second day?
This is the second day. This is after I've already fallen asleep for the night in the room upstairs. Come back downstairs. He was still awake.
8 pills in a day, overnight, in a
Please
night.
continue with that second day.
He was accusing me of being mean to his sister.
I mean, that
He was
sounds like a
accusing me
lot.
of not liking his sister. Something about the wedding.
And
I was trying to
I don't think his sister's wild about
put
her.
out that fire, as you will. I was trying to say, no,
Her
no.
testimony-
First of all, I'm not filming with Billy Bob. No, I wasn't filming with Jim Sturgis. Yes, I filmed with Eddie Redmayne, but he was a lovely gentleman.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Let's not offer to prove the truth of the matter.
Overruled.
Thank you.
And then when it came up with his sister, he
She testified.
was
She don't
accusing
like
me
you.
of kind of
His sister testified that wherever he went, she would get an extra hotel room so that he could escape.
having this animosity with Christy. I tried to defend myself, explaining why her and I had kind of become cold to one another. I don't know how else to describe it, because we never had any sort of direct interaction that was negative. We never had any sort of confrontation or anything, but I did my best to...
But for his sister to not like you doesn't require you two to have bad interaction. That's her brother. So whatever he may or may not have told her in private about your behavior towards him would make her angry. So that's the reason why she would be angry at you.
to explain to him what I could answer to that accusation. And at one point he, I mentioned that, well, I can't say what I mentioned. He, as a result of that phone call, picks up the phone and calls his agent. I don't know why, still to this day. He calls a few people. I don't know who's on the other line. I just heard his side of it, and he's screaming at them. I got a sense that it was money, that he felt people had been stealing money from him, and that the studio had been ripping him off.
Nope, only you.
And that he was
$500 bottles of wine, multiple bottles a night. Who knows what else?
Calling himself like a whore, or he had been whored out. He seemed like he was upset, but I did not at this.
Who knows how much you spent in private, because you were married around February of 15 and you got divorced in May of 16. So within a year's time frame, you and him both racked up millions of dollars of debt or fees or whatever cost, because in the divorce, you had him pay for anything and everything related to you two during that one time. And it amounted to, including taxes, $14 million. So, stealing money? No. Technically at that point, I mean, you are his wife, but spending money?
At this point, this is maybe early evening. It was before the sun went down on the second day.
He's asking his agent probably to get in touch with his financial manager who did testify in this case. Can you get a hold of him? We're bleeding, man. We're bleeding money.
I remember he took the phone at one point and called my divorce attorney. I had at some point prior to this got a divorce attorney, or not a divorce attorney, a domestic relations attorney, to do a post-nup, because we got married in February, and
his testimony and others stated that you didn't want it. You didn't want the prenup, and they proposed a post-nup. You didn't want it. Of course you didn't want it. It would limit the money you were going to get.
There was never any mention or talk from Johnny about a prenup, but I had interactions with his sister, and so I thought, okay, I'll get a lawyer and let's do a post-nup. When Johnny found out about that, or when I reminded him of that in Australia, he went outside and called my divorce attorney and fired her and said the only way out of this was death. Again. And I heard that already at this point, March 2015, probably 25 times. So he's screaming at her. He calls his agent.
But yet you willingly went into the marriage with him.
I hear him talking incoherently, screaming incoherently at my lawyer and his agent. He comes back inside, and I genuinely didn't know if he was still mad at me or if it was about me at all. I didn't know. It didn't seem like it was connected to reality at all. At some point shortly after that, I have been saying to Johnny, you need to sleep. Let's eat some dinner, baby. Let's relax. Please, like, calm down. In my head, I was thinking that it would genuinely change if he just got some sleep. He needed to sleep it off. He needed to come down off the drugs. Clearly, the combination of what he had taken pill-wise with whatever else he was hiding from me was not good. I had recognized that sort of delusion. I had recognized that sort of unattached to reality rage. I had recognized the patterns of those kinds.
Are you a psychologist? She's been pumped full of so much information from her psychologist, her therapists, and the people surrounding her camp. Now, whenever she testifies, she's like testifying as if she's some sort of psychologist. And she's now analyzing him.
Kind of loops where he's yelling about things that aren't even being discussed or talked about. I knew already that he just needed to sleep it off, clean up, sober up. And I thought we could. I remember I went to the fridge, I got out the steaks so that they would, be ready to cook. And I got out some of the food I was going to put together for dinner. I went upstairs. I don't know if I came back down in my nightgown at that point or if that was shortly after, but the next thing I remember is coming downstairs and looking for him. We had an interaction that I can't really describe. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. He was just
See him raise his eyebrows?
Belligerent, throwing things, screaming at me. And I realized I was back on the chopping block. I realized it was back. Like, I realized that the arrows were pointed at me again.
Those are generalizations. He's screaming, yelling, and throwing things. Unfortunately, that's a generalization.
And I tried to defend myself. I was explaining, trying to say that...
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
It was not for to prove the truth of the matter. She hasn't even said it yet, but try not to say what you're saying unless it needs it for context or something. Try to say what he's saying.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay.
His attorney is like, what? What is she saying?
He was just
meeting the other
I don't know how
attorney?
to describe to you because it wasn't making sense. It
What
wasn't
are
making
you,
sense.
what are you directing her to do?
I don't know how. I don't know how the immediate next string of the next part of the violence actually even initiated, but again, he has me up against the wall, and I remember this time he slams me up against the wall hard. I mean, I hit my head hard. And this is a wall next to the, I say kitchenette, but it's more of a bar. I remember there were these cooling fridges, and I remember kind of being slammed up against those. I remember pushing him off of me. I remember the name calling, the whore, the slut, the fat ass. I remember a lot of name calling.
I bet you really, because you're all about image. You're all about public image. I bet being called a fat ass was what bothered you the most, in my opinion. I bet it did.
I said,
Had he been drinking by this time?
he was drinking.
Calls for speculation and leading.
I'll sustain his leading.
What, if any, drinks had you observed Mr. Depp have
Same
by
thing.
this time?
Well, I had already seen him drink right in front of me. He took a big swig out of a wine bottle upstairs right in front of me as in a gesture of looked right at me and took a big swig out of it as a show for did it right in my face to make a point. And then when I came downstairs, he was drinking from the bottle. I don't know what kind of liquor. I remember there was another bottle open, and I was wondering why he was drinking both. But
he's married to you. Hello.
at some point, he had me up against the wall next to the cooling fridges, and I remember slamming my head up against the thing. He had me by the neck, squeezing my neck, and it got really nasty. It went from oh, no one likes you, no one likes me, everyone warned me about you. That's what it was. He started to tell me that everyone had...
It's kind of funny, if you're such an angel, why, if your testimony is truthful, why would he say, everyone warned me about you? That's very telling right there. If you're such an angel, why would he scream in a fit of rage, if it's truthful, everyone warned me about you? What were you like?
Warned him about me, and that he wished he had never married me, wish he had never met me. No one liked me. It sounds childish, but
It may be childish, but if it's true, it would be his circle of friends, his circle of life, his business managers, his agent, his his friends, the people living in the apartments, people who have interactions with you, maybe former co-stars or former friends or whatever. He's well known internationally, well known through Hollywood. He may be getting earfuls left and right of people while he was dating, telling him, watch out for her. But yet he did love her, so he married her. So he's regretting it right about now.
I remember feeling really hurt, and then at some point I shoved him hard to get him off me, and he shoved me back and he said, "You want to go, little girl?" I couldn't, as I sit here today, tell you if that happened before he choked me up against the wall, but at some point I am in a struggle with him where I'm holding his shirt lapel, and he kind of just flings me, for lack of a better way to describe it, throws me across the room. I land on a games table. It's like a ping pong table. And I don't know if I was holding on to him or if he pursued me separate, but he gets on top of me on the games table. And he's just whacking me in the face, like repetitive. We struggle on the games table. I don't know how we get up. I don't know if he pulls me up. I wish I could tell you, but we were in this struggle down in this games room by the bar.
No recording of this. No photos of this, right?
And we had this conversation about the drinking or argument about the drinking, and he...
Again, in these instances, she's recorded him so many other times. She came down the next day, right? He took ecstasy all night long, and she's not going to prepare herself and stick her phone in a back pocket or something. Put a phone on a ledge and hit record. None of this was recorded when she records almost everything.
Holds up this bottle to me, and I'm saying, did you drink this whole thing? Something stupid, focusing on this detail, and he is telling me that I can't control him anymore, and that if I really wanted to take it. And
he said, I, meaning Amber Heard, he said, I can't control him anymore. That kind of plays in with his testimony of her dominance in the relationship. When she argues, she controls the conversation according to their testimony, him and his witness's testimony. And she has manipulative ways. So she's now testifying that he said she can't control him anymore. Kind of telling.
Then he's like taunting me to take the bottle from him. If I really want him to stop, why don't I take it from him? Go on. Kept saying, go on. And kind of gesturing with the bottle towards me. And he does that 2 or 3 times. I reach for it, he'd revoke it, kind of laugh at me. And he's holding out the bottle. I think maybe the 3rd time or so I get a hold of it. I pick it up and I slam it down on the ground right in between us. There's a tile floor, a white tile floor. And I smash the bottle on the floor.
If that's the first bottle, then that was the one he accuses her of throwing. He accuses her of throwing it at him, missing him, and crashing against the mirror. That's how it busted apart.
And that really set him off.
Why would you take the bottle from him and smash it on the floor? Why? Why not, if you're such a loving, caring angel, baby? I got it. I'm putting it aside. Can we talk? Let's talk, baby. Calm down, baby. but you smash it on the floor? If he wasn't angry then, I'm sure he'd be angry now.
So stupid.
Yeah, stupid.
Sorry. It was like a light bulb switch went off.
If that's the same
He
scenario.
started screaming.
If that's the same scenario. It could be one scenario before that.
I don't know
sure.
if he backhanded me or hit me normally. I don't really recall, but
Hit me normally?
I remember it sent me down to the ground. I remember by the time I picked myself off the floor, I stand up. He's got a bottle in his hand, and he threw it at me. It missed, thankfully, but I kind of pulled myself back into the bar area. I don't know how much time passed, but at some point he had a broken bottle up against my face, neck area by my jawline, and he told me he'd carve up my face. I don't know at what point in the evening. I couldn't tell you what sequence-wise when that happened, but it was terrifying. It wasn't the first time he said that to me. He said that to me on the plane as well. But this time he was holding a broken bottle to me. I honestly don't remember if I...
Not that if her testimony is true, not that it's a correct way to behave at all. Neither of them are behaving correctly. If anyone's testimony is true. But you just smashed a bottle at him. You threw it down near him. That's a violent gesture. And now he's got a bottle at you? Could be. He's defending himself. That's not a proper way to defend yourself. That's your wife. I get it, but who knows what story is true here?
Threw anything in his direction. I don't think I did. I just remember him having me by the nightgown. I remember him flailing me, throwing me around. I'm flailing. This is after there were some bottles broken on the floor. I think this is actually after, again, forgive me, I wish I could remember the sequence, but it's flashes.
Is everyone wearing gym shoes in the house? You said you came down in a nightgown. Are you wearing slippers, sandals, Crocs? That's a lot of glass around there. No one's feet is cut, neither his nor yours.
He's throwing these bottles at me. I remember retreating. There were also cans, like soda cans, beer or soda cans. And they're coming at me one after the other, and I keep pulling myself into the bar area. There's a bar behind me, and...
Well, if it's cans, it's not beer, because you have testified that one of his... that what they had sent there, what you guys were drinking mostly, especially, I think it was... when they were in Australia, was he had Red Bull, and he had Dr. Pepper, and if he was drinking beer, it would be Beck's, and red wine. $500 bottles of red wine. Multiple. So it wasn't cans of beer. It was pop of some sort. Probably the Dr. Pepper. That his property manager or whatever, housekeeper, property manager at that place admitted to getting for him. Unless I'm confusing that with the island. Not sure. I could be confusing the two. But if that's what was even ordered at the island, then I'm sure he's probably drinking something similar there. Red Bull, Dr. Pepper, but Beck's. Beck's can come in cans, but I would assume he's a bottle guy.
Like I don't know, like an L shape. Though he's standing in the only way you can exit, so I'm kind of trapped in front of this sink, surrounded by bar on 3 sides with him in front of me. Ish, kind of front off to the left, and he's throwing these bottles one after the other, and I can feel glass breaking behind me. I remember feeling one of them go by my head really fast. I mean, a real velocity.
Funny, he says the same thing.
I remember being terrified. I remember I couldn't move, I couldn't go anywhere. I eventually, he ran out of things to throw. I think that's how I moved myself towards the exit. And I believe that's most likely when we got kind of in this struggle by the bar area, because I remember my feet slipping on the tile as he was slamming me from the wall to the countertop.
What about the broken glass on the floor?
At one point, he has me up against the wall and he's punching the wall. He had my, nightgown and it kind of ripped it off my chest. I remember at one point he's teasing me, taunting me that he has my breasts in his hands. My nightgown came completely off. It was ripped off of me. So
he doesn't like that statement.
And I'm slipping around on this tile and trying to get my footing. And I remember slipping on this tile. Glass was underneath me, and I remember just trying to get my footing. I felt really destabilized and felt really vulnerable. I'm naked. And he's flinging me around, and at some point, I'm up against the wall, and he's screaming at me that he fucking hates me, that I ruined his life. I remember I ruined his life over and over.
Well, you did!
He starts punching the wall next to my head, holding me by the neck. I get free from him. I kind of step back from him, and it's like his energy shifted to the phone. There was a wall-mounted phone on the wall next to where my head was, and he went from punching the wall to realizing there was a phone there, and he picked up the phone and he's screaming. He's like at the top of his lungs, screaming, "I fucking hate you! I fucking hate you! You ruined my fucking life!" And screaming at the top of his lungs, he picks up the phone and starts bashing the phone against the wall, against the wall where I was just being held. And I remember kind of having some distance on what was happening and watching him do this. And it was like his energy had shifted, and I was that phone all of a sudden. And he was just over and over again smashing this phone into the wall, over and over again, screaming at me. And I was watching the phone every single time he pulled his hand back. It was just breaking into pieces. I remember thinking this phone is disappearing. He was smashing it to smithereens, just going into the wall. And
wow, that's superhuman strength. That's an angry person.
He's on top of me.
Uh-huh.
No phone, but screaming the same thing. "I fucking hate you. You ruined my fucking life."
If your testimony is true, what did you do to your husband to make him scream like, I'm not saying his actions are correct if he did any of those things. But even just the language itself, if he's just screaming, if they're just having a verbal argument, and you're screaming, and your spouse is screaming that, my God, the stress you must have put on this man. The stress.
I'm on the countertop. It had me by the neck, and he felt like he was on top of me, and I'm looking at it in his eyes.
Oh, here we go.
And I don't see him anymore.
Oh.
I don't see him anymore. It wasn't him. It was black. I've never been so scared in my life. It was black. I couldn't see him. And he was...
Come on.
Looking at me, and I was trying to...
His eyes were black. He's literally the devil now. He's the devil. How much charity work this guy does. He's the devil. His eyes turn black.
Say to him in some way that it was me. I was trying to get through to Johnny, and I couldn't see him.
He's not in there.
At all. And my head was bashing against the back of the bar, and I couldn't breathe. And I remember trying to get up, and I was slipping on the glass, my feet were slipping, my arms were slipping on the countertops, and I remember just trying to get up so I could breathe, so I could tell him that he was really hurting me. I didn't think he knew what he was doing. I don't know how... Sorry.
All right, hold on. I tell you what, we're gonna stop right here. Hold on. So this video went a little bit longer because I was kind of engaged into her story. I think I'm melding in a couple other stories there when I was analyzing it, but still, I wasn't too far off in regards to the drinks that he likes. I mean, for a guy of Johnny's wealth and stature, he's not going to buy Beck's cans. I wouldn't think so, unless it's all you could get, you know. But I would assume he's a Beck's glass bottle kind of guy, especially if he drinks all kinds of wine or whatever. So the cans being thrown around, in my humble opinion, not being there, of course, probably cans of soda. It's a bar. You have mixed drinks at a bar. You know, Dr. Pepper, whatever. 7-Up, what have you. But anyways, I hope you liked the video. This is video number 9, I think. We're going to upload this as soon as we can. I may try one more video tonight. Right now, it's 2 a.m. here in Chicago. And I've been doing pretty much nothing but this besides cooking and cleaning today. I don't know if I'll get through all her testimony or not. I got to get some rest myself. But thank you all. Love you. And see you in the next video, hopefully.